Hey everyone, I'm working to hit 2,000 subscribers and I need your help to get there. If you enjoy the content, please hit that subscribe button right now.
What's going on, Jeromes? And welcome back to Report Vikings. Before we get into today's absolutely crazy story about Jonathan Grenard and the contract situation that could reshape the entire Vikings defense, I need you to hit that subscribe button right now. We're grinding toward a massive milestone, and I cannot do this without you. Seriously, your support keeps this channel running, so let's go. Now let me set the scene for you because this is getting wild. Jonathan Grenard is one of the best edge rushers in the entire game, and I genuinely need to reiterate this approximately 17,000 times because people seem to forget just how dominant this man is. He is specifically tailor-made for what Kevin O'Connell and Brian Flores are building on this Vikings defense. We're talking about a stand-up outside linebacker who gets after quarterbacks with precision, instinct, and an absolutely relentless motor. But here's where it gets complicated, and here's where the memes come in, because, let's be honest, Grenard became somewhat of a punchline last season when he only recorded 3 sacks. 3. That's the number everyone focuses on. That's the number people point at when they want to roast him on Twitter or Reddit or whatever platform they're using. But, and this is a massive but, Grenard led the entire team in pressures. He's the straw that stirs the drink on that defensive unit. He makes everyone better. He's a force multiplier. He's the guy who impacts plays without always getting the sack credit, and any serious defensive analyst or coach worth their salt understands that completely. But here's the thing about Jonathan Grenard that we need to address head-on. 2 years into his 4-year deal, more money is absolutely required. And recently, Grenard started putting content on social media. Pictures in Vikings gear, posts about putting in the work, family moments, all of it. And honestly, it was a bit of a Rorschach test for the fan base. Some people saw it as Grenard subtly signaling that he wants a new contract. Others saw it as just a guy being active on social media. But the context matters here because, contractually speaking, Grenard is in a pretty precarious situation, and I'm going to break it down for you because this is where things get interesting. Grenard is currently in the midst of a 4-year, $76 million deal. Now that sounds like a ton of money, and it is, but here's the catch. Only $4 million of that is guaranteed in his base salary for 2026. That's the problem. That's why people are speculating about his future. When you look at the landscape of edge rusher contracts across the NFL, Grenard is hanging on just outside the top 20. And every offseason, more players get paid. Danielle Hunter just reset the market. Max Crosby got paid. T. Higgins got paid. Everyone's getting paid and getting paid and getting paid, and meanwhile, Grenard's contract is starting to look like it's being lapped by the market. It's a situation that's becoming increasingly untenable for a player of his caliber. Now, I'm going to be honest with you because I think this matters. I'm of 2 minds on this entire situation. Number 1, players should only sign 2-year deals maximum, right? Because on the back end of these long-term deals, it makes absolutely 0 sense. The player's base salary gets lapped by the market. They run out of guaranteed money. The team has full control over them. Unless the team mandates these 4- and 5-year deals across the board, which they won't because that would be insane, I just don't understand why players continue signing them. It's negotiating against yourself. It's like walking into a business deal knowing you're going to lose leverage every single year. It's frustrating to watch from a player empowerment standpoint, but for the player specifically, for Grenard in this particular situation, he absolutely deserves a new contract. He's earned it. He's been dominant. The optics are admittedly weird, coming off a 3-sack season, but the people who actually know football, who understand defensive schemes and pressure rates and quarterback disruption, they know that Grenard is absolutely elite. There's no debate among the coaching community about his quality. The only question is what his price tag should be and where he's going to play next. And here's where it gets spicy, because there are still landing spots for Grenard in a trade. We're talking about the Philadelphia Eagles, the Cincinnati Bengals, the San Francisco 49ers. Basically, any team that didn't get Danielle Hunter or lost Danielle Hunter and didn't get Max Crosby. These are teams that desperately need pass rush help and would view Grenard as a potential missing piece. But let's talk about what the Vikings actually do here, because they've got their own dynamic situation brewing on the outside linebacker depth chart. Diamond Turner, is starting to rise up. He was a first-round draft pick in 2024, and the kid has potential written all over him. Andrew Van Ginkel got paid. He signed a 2-year deal. And here's the thing that's crucial. Van Ginkel plays a completely different position than Grenard in terms of the scheme. They're not one-for-one replaceable. They're not interchangeable pieces. This isn't like you lose one and plug in the other. This is actually a sophisticated defensive situation where the Vikings believe they can run it with all 3 guys as full-time starters. And honestly, I trust Brian Flores to find a way to make it work. Kevin O'Connell was at the owners' meeting down in Arizona, actually at the Biltmore, very fancy, and he made some statements to the media that are absolutely worth dissecting. This is where tone matters, by the way. You always have to listen not just to the words a coach says, but to the tone, the cadence, the energy behind those words. O'Connell said, and I quote, "Yeah, I expect him to be part of our team. I know there's always conversations. There's conversations this week. There's conversations throughout this off-season, and we'll continue to kind of attack things at different phases. We're getting ready to really jump heavily into draft meetings when we get back. But at the same time, we're always going to try and do what's best for our team and also what's best for each of our individual players. And that's an ongoing thing throughout each off-season." Now, O'Connell loves to filibuster. He and Rick Spielman are basically the same person in terms of their ability to talk around a question without actually answering it directly. It's almost an art form. But here's what matters. The tone-wise, he sounded pretty upbeat about the Grenard situation. It wasn't a "we'll see what happens" vibe. It wasn't an "it is what it is" situation where you know there's actual concern behind the scenes. He felt good about this one. And that's meaningful. That tells you something about where the Vikings organization actually stands. ESPN's Adam Schefter had reported back in March that the Vikings are open to trading Grenard as they work through their salary cap deficit. The Vikings have made other moves to trim nearly $50 million from their 2026 cap total. But here's the critical piece. Grenard's $19 million salary for the season sits in a tier below the league's top pass rushers. Until some kind of adjustment occurs, a trade is theoretically possible if the Vikings receive an intriguing enough offer. But otherwise, and this is the key word, otherwise, the Vikings want Grenard to be part of a dynamic group of outside linebackers that includes Van Ginkel and Turner, that first-round draft pick who they're betting on to become special. Let me break down what I think is actually going to happen here, because I've thought about this extensively, and I think there's a clear path forward that benefits everyone involved. The Vikings could absolutely make this work with all 3 guys. I'm not just saying that to sound positive. Structurally, they could do it, but with Grenard heading into his age 29 season and looking to get a new deal, it makes complete sense that he wants to secure his financial future. When you look at the contracts that have been doled out recently, Danielle Hunter, Max Crosby, all these edge rushers who have gotten massive deals, Grenard is looking at the market and seeing players who are arguably not at his level still commanding significantly more money than he is. That's frustrating. That's the reality of the situation. But here's where I think this gets eerily similar to what happened with Danielle Hunter toward the end of his Vikings tenure. Grenard, like Hunter, signed too long of a deal. Hunter signed a 5-year, $72 million deal and was constantly playing catch-up with the market during the contract. He was always fighting to get adjusted because the market moved faster than his deal's structure allowed. I see the exact same trajectory with Grenard. He's going to spend the next 2 years of his deal in a similar position unless something changes. The Vikings have the cap flexibility to adjust his contract. They have the power here. But they also need to understand that you can't keep one of your best defensive players unhappy and expect him to perform at peak level forever. Here's my prediction. Absent some picture-perfect situation in the draft where a team like the Eagles, Bengals, or 49ers misses out on a solid edge rusher, I think one of those teams will ring up the Vikings before the trade deadline or in the offseason next year. But I actually don't think the Vikings are going to make that trade. And here's why. The 49ers are probably going to sign Joey Bosa, and while respect to Joey Bosa as a player, Grenard is in a completely different stratosphere at this stage of their respective careers. Bosa has injury questions. Grenard is healthy and dominant. The comparison isn't even close. Honestly, at this point, I'd say it's 90-10 that the Vikings run it back with Grenard, but here's how I think they do it in a way that makes everyone happy. They freshen up the contract. They take his base salary from the current $18.39 million and bump it up. Maybe $27 million, maybe even $30 million. That's not crazy money for an elite edge rusher in 2026. The Vikings have the cap space to make it happen, and more importantly, they can structure it in a way that works for everyone. Here's the blueprint. The Vikings and Grenard negotiate a modest contract adjustment for 2026. They take that base salary up to around $30 million. But, and this is the key part, they eliminate the 2027 and 2028 years on the contract and make him a free agent after this season. Think about it. Everyone wins. Grenard gets a meaningful pay bump. He doesn't get the massive long-term deal extension that would lock him in for 4 more years, but he becomes a free agent after 2026. That means he can either re-sign with the Vikings if they want to keep him, or he hits the open market and can sign with whoever he wants. The Vikings get Grenard in a contract year, and when you've got a player as dominant as he is playing in a contract year, that's incredibly motivating. He's going to bring everything he has. He's going to be hungry. He's going to be flying around making plays and proving his worth every single Sunday. And honestly, I don't feel like there's going to be hard feelings between the Vikings and Grenard if they go this route. The Vikings would essentially be saying, "We value you. We're paying you like a star, but we're also giving you the opportunity to get paid again in free agency if you want." That's a win-win proposition. It's modern NFL thinking. It respects both the organization and the player. I just don't see the Vikings trading Grenard unless it's for something absolutely massive, like a 2027 first-round pick or a high second-round pick projected in the first-round vicinity. But even then, I'd be shocked because the Vikings aren't desperate. They're not in a panic situation. They can afford his current deal. They're under zero pressure to give him a massive extension right now. Grenard could theoretically hold in during training camp, but he can't sit out the season unless he wants his contract to toll, and then he's still got the same problem. He has no leverage to burn the organization. They have all the leverage, and smart organizations use that wisely, which I think the Vikings are doing here. What I genuinely believe is going to happen is the Vikings are going to make a move that allows them to keep Grenard, Turner, and Van Ginkel all on the roster and all playing significant snaps. That defensive group is going to be sexy as hell. That's a dynamic combination of edge rushers who can wreak havoc on opposing offenses, and it's all because the Vikings are in a very good spot right now. They're not desperate. They can afford the deals. They understand the value, and that puts them in a position to actually build something special. Kevin O'Connell's tone at the league meetings told you everything you need to know. He felt good about this situation. He sounded confident. He sounded like a guy who has a plan and knows where things are heading. Will there be negotiations? Absolutely. Will there be conversations? For sure. But I genuinely believe Grenard is going to be wearing purple next season, and I believe we're going to see him put up some tremendous numbers because he'll have something to prove. So here's my final take. The Jonathan Grenard contract situation is not the drama some people are making it out to be. It's a negotiation. It's a normal part of the NFL offseason. And I think the Vikings are going to handle it the right way by keeping their star defender, adjusting his contract in a manner that respects his value, and continuing to build that defense around him. That's the kind of organizational competence that wins football games. That's the kind of approach that keeps your locker room happy and your roster intact. Now look, I could be wrong. That's always possible. The Eagles could ring up the Vikings with an absolutely insane offer. Grenard could get unhappy and force his way out. but based on everything I've seen and heard, that doesn't feel like where this is heading. I feel good about the Vikings keeping their guy, and I feel good about Grenard being a force multiplier on one of the most talented defenses in the NFC next season. That's the Jonathan Grenard contract situation breakdown, and honestly, it's way more positive than the initial narrative suggested. But I want to hear from you. What do you think is going to happen with Grenard? Do you think the Vikings should keep him? Should they entertain offers? Let me know down in the comments because I read every single one of them, and I love hearing what you guys think about these situations. And while you're down there commenting, please hit that like button. Seriously, the engagement metrics on this channel are insane when you guys like the videos, and it helps us get in front of more Vikings fans who need this content. Before you leave, I've got to mention that we're so close to our next subscriber milestone, and you guys are incredible. Every single one of you who subscribes and turns on notifications means everything to this channel. We're building something special here at Report Vikings, and it's a 100% because of the support from this community. So, if you're not subscribed yet, what are you doing? Hit that subscribe button. Turn on notifications. Let's grow this thing together and keep bringing you the best Vikings analysis and breaking news that you're going to find anywhere on YouTube. Thanks for watching, Jeromes. We'll see you in the next one. Report Vikings
Hey
out.
everyone, I'm working to hit 2,000 subscribers and I need your help to get there. If you enjoy the content, please hit that subscribe button right now.